Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for another lecture in our inaugural lecture series. I'm Professor Arosha Bandara, Associate Dean and Director for Research in the Faculty for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics here at the Open University. I'm really proud and privileged to be hosting one of our inaugural lectures today, part of a series that showcases our research, teaching, and knowledge exchange portfolios. An inaugural lecture is a really important milestone in an academic career, and I'm really honored today to be here to introduce Professor Anna Liddo, Professor of Human-Computer Interaction and Director of Research at the Knowledge Media Institute of the Open University. Anna will be talking about how some of the biggest problems of our time for collective action can be addressed. She'll be exploring how we make sense of complex problems and collectively decide and act as a diverse group or community, making best use of digital technologies. But before we begin, some housekeeping. Today's lecture will be followed by a Q&A session, and then with some refreshments downstairs for all of us here in the theater. For anyone in the audience using X, or formerly Twitter, as a platform, please feel free to post using the hashtag OUTalks, that's displayed here, and tagging the Open University at Open University to let the world know and join us today for this talk. For members of our audience joining us via YouTube, please use the email address provided and keep your comments and questions brief so we can address them during the Q&A. And without further ado, let me welcome Professor Anna Liddo to the stage. Anna is Professor of Human-Computer Interaction and Director of Research at the Knowledge Media Institute of the Open University, as I've already mentioned. Her research focuses on the study of collective intelligence facilitated through new forms of dialogue and deliberation. She leads the Intelligent Deliberation Group, which investigates theories, methods, and tools to promote critical thinking, evidence-based discussion, and democratic decision-making in public engagement. Urban informatics, e-democracy, and social innovation contexts are other areas where these techniques are applied. So, Anna, over to you to deliver your inaugural lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Arosha, for the introduction, and thanks, everyone. I feel humbled and grateful to see so many of you here in this beautiful lecture theater or online to celebrate such an important moment in my career. So I owe a debt of gratitude to the Open University, my academic family since 2008 when I joined here as a PhD student. And I actually joined only for 4 months, and now after nearly 20 years, I'm still here, still passionate about my work and the amazing work of my department, the Knowledge Media Institute of the STEM faculty. So today, we are going to talk about discussion, design, and democracy. 3 quite unusual topics for a computer scientist, like once a professor told me. The reason for that is that I didn't start as one. I was trained as a civil engineer and urban planner in a beautiful city in the south of Italy at the Polytechnic of Bari. At that time, during my training, I experienced firsthand the complexity of collective decision-making. In fact, participatory approaches to urban planning require citizens to be involved in the collective discussion and definition of the futures of their cities. So, choosing a right urban planning solution was never about choosing the best technical solution, but it was more about navigating the many tensions, the many different views, the many different expertise to find that avenue, that solution that was good enough to be pushed forward. And I realized how complex it was to get to that point. And when the scale of the problem and the number of people involved becomes even larger, that problem become even harder. So that was very clear to me when I moved to France, and for my second master in environmental risk management. So management of environmental risk is probably the hardest problem of all. During my thesis, I worked for 6 months at the Food and Agriculture Organization from the United Nations. And I had to build world poverty map. So I had to compute hundreds of indicators between agriculture, infrastructuring, different sorts of social, economical indicator to establish what is the level of poverty of every single region in the world grid. That experience for me was transformative. I could see the world map changing color, highlighting how different, even the tiniest choice, would affect different people worldwide in different ways. And in that moment, I realized that what I really wanted to do, and what I have done since then when I joined the Open University, is finding new way to tackle these very complex, large problems. The largest problems, the greatest problems of our time, that cannot be solved by any man, woman, animal, or machine in isolation, but they need really collective action, which means collective effort, collective responsibility, the capability to collectively decide together for our future and act. Pandemics, climate change, famine. Tackling this complex societal problem is, by definition, very contentious, and people, organizations, countries will always disagree on the best way ahead. And the convergence on the most appropriate action will always have tensions. In the 70s, philosopher and urban planner from the US gave a name to this type of problems. They are wicked problems. They are born in contexts where there will almost always be contention over the right answers. There will never be one worldview that fits all or everyone. Evidence will be always ambiguous and of dubious reliability, and therefore they will require the construction of even competing narrative to be assessed. In this context, the growth of intelligence, both at individual and collective level, will always come from learning from each other, a learning which is socially constructed through different forms of discourse, dialogue, and debate. This set the main challenges, the long-term challenges and questions for my career. How do we collectively discuss, think critically, and make sense of complex problems as a diverse and often divided group of people? Can digital technologies help us to go beyond our differences and disagreements and come together as a more inclusive and democratic society? Or, as many other things, will only bring us further apart? Recent events show that we are constantly failing. The technology we have available polarizes us. And this is evidenced by recent increasing exacerbation of social conflicts worldwide. Citizens, workers, students, everywhere, they are asking for new ways to come together and openly discuss about their future, make sense of the complex problem of our time, and find a way to go ahead together to solve them. These spaces are spaces for civilized dissent that go beyond public protest, spaces in which we can come together and disagree without being judged, spaces really in which we can make sense of this problem as a diverse society and find common ground to act together. Unfortunately, at all societal level, we are missing these spaces that we define spaces for large-scale deliberation. Deliberation is the careful discussion before a decision is made. It can be defined as the thorough dialogical assessment of the pro and con of a measure before a decision is taken. But when we are distributed everywhere in the world, different group of people, and we cannot have this thorough conversation sitting in the same room, how are we going to go about that? How do we do it? Well, actually, social media, unfortunately, is the standard solution for any organization, including municipalities, to have large-scale number of people coming together and discuss about common, very pressing issues. And this happened despite the fact that evidence in the last 15 years, research evidence have demonstrated that these tools are flawed and heavily inappropriate and ineffective to support good deliberation and decision making. The reason for that is both a technical design reason and a social reason. First of all, despite the evolution and improvement of digital technologies, the way in which discussion data online is structured is really rudimental. So it's just a series of posts as a timeline. All the content often lack quality and variety. These discussions scarcely support evidence-based reasoning, and they lack features to enhance our personal understanding of the discussion. We have no way to orient ourselves and know what's the state and progress of an online debate. And we don't know how we sit in relation to what others think. This produces very well-known negative social and organizational negative effects. Very well-researched echo chambers, the activation of biased information dynamic, homophily, lack of content variety, polarization, division, conflict. It completely degrades the quality and balance and even safety of online discussion, and even get to undermining our social tolerance. Why is this problem of having deliberation in technology so important? Well, because poor deliberation means inevitably poor decisions. Poor evidence reasoning will always bring to unjustified choices. If we don't understand the complexity of a problem, we will take simplistic decisions because we will only look at one little angle of it. The poor assessment of the pro and con before a decision is made, that will always bring to unfair choices because we will inevitably favor only one side of the argument if we don't have explored the others. And most importantly, failing to consider the diversity of opinion leads to division and hinders our capability to innovate in the way we solve our complex problems. To solve this challenge, in the last 20 years, I studied the limitation of online discussion technologies. And together with my amazing team, we developed a new class of deliberation tools that use different forms of computational services, artificial intelligence, argument mining, discourse analysis, and different way to use visual analytics on the deliberation, social, and geospatial data to facilitate new dynamics of engagement with complex problems in many different fields such as politics, policy, urban informatics, healthcare, learning, and much more. In the interest of time, I can't show you the 10 deliberation technologies that we have created, but I have decided to take you into a journey in which I tell you a story about the 4 main impacts that they have had in tackling very dividing and important problems. The first impact is about bridging divides and healing division during political elections. There is perhaps not a time in which society shows its divisions than during a general election. So, working with my amazing colleague, Alberto Ardito, senior software developer in KMI and here in the audience somewhere, we work with other OU colleagues and colleagues from the University of Leeds to build a new collective intelligence platform called democratic reflection. Democratic reflection enables new modes to engage with televised political debates, and does this through an audience feedback interaction technology that can be accessed at that link on the screen, which is basically a second screen interaction technologies that you can access on your mobile phone or on your tablets. And the amazing things about this tool is how intuitive and easy to use it is. You will see in front of you a set of colored flashcards. These represent very simple phrased reflective statement that you can click on while you are watching. So democratic reflection in this way really promotes a very immediate, proactive engagement with either the televised debates or live events or any video replay. Testing of the other important things I forgot is that when you have finished watching the debates, the technology presents you with your personal analytics. So basically it's a sort of blueprints of your emotional reaction or your thinking, your inner reflection while you were watching the debate. And through this analytics, you find out a lot of interesting things about yourself and the way you reacted. You also get some collective analytics that allow to assess the media event in a more holistic way, understanding, for example, which speaker appealed more to which type of people, and so on. Democratic reflection was tested with the help of ITV with over 2,000 UK citizens in the 2015, 17, and 19 political election debates. And the results of our testing showed that the tool was really able to change the way people felt about the political leaders and what they said. And most importantly, it changed their personal assumption that they hold before watching the debate, up to the point that could change the way they voted. We found that democratic reflection really facilitated high engagement and willingness to use this tool in the future when engaging with political debates, which in a time when there is a continuous disengagement with politics, it was per se a very important finding. We didn't have any usability issues, even with people having very low digital literatures. And we found systematic improvement in sense-making dimension. People were able to make unexpected insights on the debaters and what they said. They were able to reflect in a deeper way about what was said, going beyond the winning-losing context of political debates, and they could assess their assumption and change what they thought. People reported that the personal analytics in particular, they were really important for shifting their mind. They really said they would not expect some of the results. They would not think that their own reaction pointed at a certain thing. So democratic reflection showed to be a very powerful tool to support reflection and self-learning. A second impact is probably of the same technology, is probably in an even hardest and more dividing context. We use democratic reflection to nudge behavior change at scale to build peace. In a user study in Rwanda, we work with Aegis Trust and the Isoko EU project to this very challenging objective. As you know, in 1994, Rwanda experienced large-scale genocide. And after that, society is trying to attempt these events never happen again. So NGOs like Aegis Trust, which is a British NGO that works on the prevention of genocide and mass atrocity worldwide, they are working with the government to put in place different approaches to build peace in this very divided society. And the one tool they use a lot is videos and storytelling. So what we did is to choose one of this video, part of the Kigali Memorial, that is called Ubuntu and capture the testimony of rescuers during the genocide. We use then democratic reflection to help them reflect on the genocide in a different way. So with Aegis Trust and the ISOCO project, we went through the very hard process of designing very easy reflecting statements that could measure different level of engagement with the video, both from a point of view of understanding of the conflicts and both understanding an empathic connection with the conflicts, with phrases like, oh, I think she did a good thing, which show like a low empathic connection, to very powerful card like, what she's saying makes me proud. In this way, while people clicked, we were able to understand how much they really related with the video and what was being said. Results showed that democratic reflection really changed the viewing experience from passive to proactive. Despite we were working with a rural population and people really were not happy of using technologies for watching the videos, we were impressed by the results. So in 20 minutes video, a group of 60 people clicked nearly 3,000 times. This is 137 clicks per person at a rate of 7 clicks per minute. But the most amazing thing is that the line, as you can see there, of the clicks was steady along the 20 minutes, showing that people did not disengage with the content and they did not got tired to click on the cards. So it also developed detailed insight on the interaction and enabled in-depth understanding of the audience. In fact, we were able to see, for example, that if specific part of the video appealed in a different way or empathic way to men versus women, or to rural area versus urban area, people, young people, older people, and that was of incredible value for Aegis Trust, because of course it's demonstrated this could be a tool with which they can assess the impact of their video in changing critical thinking and promote behavior change. One of my favorite quotes from the interview from the Aegis Trust Digital Resource and Communication manager at Aegis Trust was the fact that he said that he really thought that democratic reflection enabled people to respond from their heart rather than their mind. So there was something about the immediacy with which you could click on these cards that really made the difference and that gave this very powerful reflection journey to the people that took part. The third impact is on helping civic leaders to make sense of online discussion across communities and data. And this time with another amazing of my colleague, Michelle Buckler, senior software manager and developer here in KMI, and my amazing friends with whom I shared an office for 10 years, we developed LiteMap. LiteMap, it's a very cool tool, I would say that. The good thing about LiteMap is that it combined two very important collaborative activities: collaborative web annotation and knowledge mapping. So now imagine that you have a civic leader that you want to understand a problem that a community is facing. You want to have a sense of what people think. How are you going to go about tracking a specific problem that is discussed in many different websites, in many different social media, and then build a coherent narrative of what people think about this? What are the arguments to face it? Well, civic leaders have a very hard time in doing things like that. So LiteMap is a tool that can help them. You can imagine it like a sort of highlighter of any web page. You can use it, download the bookmarklet, well, kind of, not download, but anyway, let's not get into the detail of your web browsers. And then with it, you can highlight piece of text on the web and then click and make your annotation on it. So make it a question, an answer, or say, oh, this is a great idea from this person. And then after that, you can move to a 2D canvas in which you and your collaborating team can then start building links and making sense of this collaborative annotation process, building a coherent map of how was this problem tackled by different people online. Since its first launch in 2015, LiteMap has been used by over 1,000 users in 10 different countries and from 150 communities. There are hundreds of maps that shows its impact on public discussion and education. For example, a quite large community of teachers in Brazil use constantly LiteMap as a tool for online learning and collective inquiry with their students. When it was applied by Civic leaders, we found that LiteMap was really useful also for non-experts. So they could successfully create argument maps without any training, which responds to a lot of the critique that online argumentation technology have received in the past. We also noticed that the incremental formalization and kind of breaking down the sense-making step into a first phase of data collection and a second phase of visual mapping really helped in this formalization issue. We still also recorded that usually civic leaders group, they ask for also a face-to-face and not only online discussion, which is something we will address in the future of our research, because increasingly groups are asking for more hybrid way to collectively make sense of data and information, waving from face-to-face interaction into virtual one in a seamless way. Mappers found that the mapping process was very enriching. It deepened their understanding of both the debated topic and their online community, supporting the analysis of community contribution at scale across different websites, really providing a tool to scale public deliberation across different websites. And this leads to the fourth and last impact, enabling large-scale deliberation. In 2019, I was awarded an individual grant from the Office of Naval Research of the US. And here I have to thank my amazing project officer that so much believed in me and my work and enabled me with my team to bring what I think is a very cutting-edge technological solution for online deliberation. So with the help of Lucas Anastasio, Alberto Ardito, Riccardo Pala, and Angelo Parisi, most of them here in this lecture theater, we were able to design Because, implement it in a way that is equally accessible than existing social media, but much more structured and providing a higher data quality for discussion and deliberation than if you were using any social media website. This is what Because look like. It can be accessed at because.app. And if you look at it, you might think, and that was our objective, that this looks very similar to any other discussion website. People have the feeling they are contributing like to a sort of WhatsApp. But in reality, behind the scene, Because enable the very structured conversational exchange and the possibility to distinguish what are the question, the answer, the argument that the people are adding to the debate, even though they have no awareness that they are building such a structured discussion. The main innovation of Because compared to other social media perhaps might be not even evident to many people, but they are really transformative. First, we don't use simple replies, but we have substituted those with this feature that kind of nudges people to think about their contribution in an ambivalent way. So if you click on the reply, you're going to get this screen. You're going to be given sliders, and that kind of allow you to give very nuanced opinion on what you are addressing. You could say, I somewhat agree. And then you are asked, do you have any pro and con for this? Nudging people to think that their view is not just so straight. So very little design choices that help people think critical about their own position as well. Also, we changed appreciative feedback like +1, like, hurts, with reflection feedback. So if you click on a reflection feedback, you are asked to think thoroughly. Can I trust this position? Is this position polarized? If I think of what I'm trying to do, solving this problem, these solutions should be prioritized or not. So it takes you back and think at what really matters when you are trying to collectively deliberate on important problems for our society. You also get reflection feedback that help you situate your position to the one of the group. And that, as in democratic reflection, has proved to really sparkle changing people's minds, learning from just studying themselves and their own reactions. Another important innovation of Because is the use of visual analytics, both at personal level and collective level. So you can go to your personal analysis page where you understand and can think critically about your contribution. For example, if you see that you were only giving counter arguments, you might want to think twice and be more constructive, maybe. You can also have collective analytics in which with one bird's-eye view, you can have a sense if your group is polarizing or not. So in the top image, this is a nice Gaussian curve, but if you would see lots of people sitting at the two edge of that graph, you would not only know that your discussion is polarized, but also who is polarizing and why. So imagine as a civic leader, how could you use this visualization to help the group to come together, trying to prevent conflicts and disagreement before they can become too open. The other big innovation is the use of artificial intelligence features to help make sense of the debate. For example, if you are a newcomer and this conversation has hundreds of posts, how do you know what's the state and progress of the conversation? So on the top right, Because gives you an abstractive summary. This is dynamic, so every 5 posts, the summary is going to be updated. So at any point, you know what is the state and progress of that debate, and you would know how to best contribute. Another way to do that is through the sense-making nuggets that provides you different entry point. One of the weaknesses of online debate tools is that they always present you with the last post in a timeline. While the sense-making nuggets, they trigger you to enter at different points. For example, entering from that post that was very disagreed, and therefore you should probably want to have a look because you want to add a pro-argument to it. Or that post that was actually neglected but has a very high innovation potential because it's this long tail of idea that could really make a difference in a conversation. So the sense-making nuggets allow people to enter the conversation where their expertise can have the biggest impact. After lots of desk research, 6 control experiments, 3 real use cases, testing countless redesign cycles with my team, they probably hate me, and many development sprints, we found out that a few important things. First of all, argumentation structuring does not reduce usability and engagement. Again, this was been a long-standing critiques of argumentation technologies. They are too hard to use. People will disengage. Well, that's not true. If they have designed in the right way, we have proved that Because is an interface that is equally usable and engaging than normal social media and a threaded discussion forum. But there's not stops there. We found out that argumentation structure actually have a very positive effect on the social dynamic enabled through conversation. It improves group cohesion. It reduces conversational silos. It means that there were not going to be any more platform islands, group of people talking to each other. And it will bring the group to address each other's idea in a much more cohesive way. We also found that the reflection enhancement that I showed you before, changing the reply to argumentation, or changing appreciative feedback for reflection feedback, really produces a better social interaction and better social network coverage. More reciprocity, everyone speaks to everyone, and produce better connected social network compared to appreciative only feedback. The work of my amazing postdoc, Dr. Lucas Anastasio, also showed that the two artificial intelligence artifacts that I showed you before, they really supported sense-making and evidence-based reasoning. First, they showed systematic improvement in engagement variables like perceived usability and durability, novelty, and also sense-making factor. They provided more focus. People was better at understanding what the arguments in the discussion were, distinguish between different ideas to inform their choices, and assess these assumptions in a thorough way. It also provided reflection and insight. And most importantly, when the two artifacts were used at the same time, they provided better mutual understanding. So people were more open to understand each other's idea, even when very different. The results of the social network analysis confirmed our previous results, showed the reduction of the number of components and increased occurrences of fully connected graphs. So not only the argumentation structuring, the artificial intelligence aid amplified the results of reducing polarization. And also, and that was a really, really nice finding, the topic modeling analysis that we made on the discussion data showed that the discussion was more diverse. So people discussed more different ideas because they were connected with more diverse people, thanks to the different entry point that the AI results had enabled. This finding have been also confirmed from our recent work in collaboration with Dr. Sandra Obradovic. I know Sandra cannot be here, but we did this amazing work together in the last UK general election. We used because with testing with a large group of psychology students, and we had a baseline interview to test our social distancing versus out-group political thinkers. And then we gave them, because we let them interact for 20 minutes, and we checked again after 3 days if that conversation has changed something. Well, we found that the discussion of because provided less social distancing desire from their political outgroup, feeling more understood, and perceiving society in general as being less polarized. All this conversation and research and finding are going to have, a new avenue of application in our current Orbis project, in which we will use because and test it with 6 different democratic innovation and civic organizations around Europe. And we hope we will be able soon to show how democratic processes and deliberative democracy processes that are digitally mediated with tools like because and with the use of artificial intelligence aid, they can really provide new ways in which citizens worldwide can discuss issues that are very important for European democracy in the future. Now it's time to conclude. So I hope that with this lecture today, I have kind of a bit convinced you that discussion-based collective intelligence and deliberation technologies have the power to improve many collaborative processes. And the main impact that these technologies show is to bring people together in their diversity beyond their difference and disagreements. In a world that really sees technologies as evil, and where we feel that we probably, as computer science researchers, we will never be able to prove nothing compared to big technological giants. We have demonstrated that a very small research enterprise has proved solid evidence that new social media technologies can be appropriately designed to help people come together in a more inclusive and democratic way. Deliberative democracy is, in fact, and deliberation in general, a fundamental democratic right. Both in political science and computer science research, deliberation is a very important aspect of making collective democratic decisions. But unfortunately, all the deliberative democracy processes that are used today, they do not use the advantage of digital technologies. And they do not reach the many. They involve very high costs. And therefore, we ask how we're going to do, what are we going to do about this as technology designers, computer scientists, but also as citizens being part of a community. Are we ready to use different technologies for deciding about the future of our cities, of our organization and communities? Powerful analytical tools are often used as persuasive technologies, but they can also be used to improve civic engagement and learning. User profiling is increasingly used by big corporations to target people, but it can also be used by governments to provide better services to their citizens, to develop effective civic learning experiences. Sometimes it might be easy to scapegoat technology for society's ill, but we should also take our responsibility and never forget the extraordinary potential of technologies to unite us and how we design and use these technologies for our future and for tackling the hardest challenges of our society. It will define us. So let's not hide ourselves behind the excuse. Our ultimate research goal in my team is enabling ideation and deliberation at unprecedented scales, while allowing many voices to contribute to effective, unbiased, democratic conversation that lead to intelligent group decision and positive social change. In the next 20 years of my research, you will be happy to know, I will take this challenge to yet another level. So, after thorough deliberation and decision-making, imagine we're able to do it well. How do we actually coordinate our action? How do we take action? How do we bridge discussing and deliberation in a very thorough way to collectively acting toward the same purpose? So, the next avenue of my research will look at that. Like birds flying in flocks as a unified, harmonized system, can humans temporally align their plural intention and go beyond the big disagreements and tension in their society and come together to act toward the same path? And how we design novel technologies that enable such coordinated action. We recently, with these two amazing co-I that you see here, Professor Grazia Gentile and Dr. Maria Manez Costa, we wrote an ERC project about this very challenging new research. We want to study if human beings are able to swarm, and they are able to collectively coordinate and act to face the biggest problem of our time, collective climate action. So that's all for me, and this is now the time to thank you all, and some very special people in this audience. First of all, my amazing team, and a special thanks goes to two persons that I couldn't capture their picture in this presentation because it was too short, And is Kitty in the audience, that she's doing amazing work using democratic reflection for belief change in adult work. So I'm looking forward to my next lecture to present Kitty finding. And Retno Lazarati, which is exploring the importance of explainable AI in fields like and to improve EDI issues. I also need to thank Professor Simon Buckinghamshire. Simon is not here. He may be rewatching this from Sydney sometime. Without Simon, I wouldn't even be here. So thank you, Simon. And thanks KMI's present and past director. I mean, these people here, this poor, amazing person and profs here, many times believed in me more than I did. And this was really transformative for my career development, so thank you. I also have to thank my amazing professional service team. I mean, these 5 people here never told me no once. When I came with any request, of course, always at the last minute, of course, always to be done yesterday, and impossible targets, sleepless nights, and they have always been there for me and never said no, and with a smile, so really, thank you very much. And finally, I don't know why I am going back. Oh, no, forward. Thanks to the most amazing team and research group in the world, because if I think that we could fly as a flock of birds in harmony, is because I have seen this is possible in KMI. So thank you very much. And last but not least, I have to thank my family. My husband, Carlos Pedrinacci Godoy, I think he deserves an applause. My mom and dad, that did so many, kind of, they went, through a lot for taking me here, and in particular, they accepted to give up her only daughter for 20 years in order for her to chase her dreams. So thank you very much. And to my son, Massimo, who listened for 40, 50 minutes, I don't know. Patience like a Kung Fu Panda. Thank you, Massimo. You are really the stable chair that I hold on and I climb to in the roller coaster of my life. And I love you dearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. So now it's time for us to move on to the question and answer part. So Anna, if I could invite you to join me at the chairs. So thank you again, Anna, for a really fascinating talks and really amazing work there to talk about. It's an opportunity for those of us here in the room to ask questions and also for us to take some questions online. If you're in the room, please wait until the roving mic gets to you and briefly introduce who you are and where you're from. And do try to keep your questions and comments brief so that we can get through as many as possible in the remaining time that we have. Yes, question.
Hi, Anna. As you know, I'm a big fan of your work. But you used this phrase about your ambition for this to happen at unprecedented scale. And I wonder if the only way to achieve that is through some kind of commercialization, and whether this is something that you've given thought to, investigated, and so on.
That is, as always, a very good question. My team would know that we have had some chance to commercialize some of our tools. And it was hard to decide what to do then, because you are right. commercialization would probably help to kind of augment the coding and research power that you could put in this research. But at the same time, I think it also make you slave of other criteria for deciding what to really research or spend effort on hours on or not, because you will have to maintain, to have a budget and to have your company and the people working with you, surviving. And we decided we didn't want that because many times we really dedicated hours and days to develop in the right way, the right feature. And it was a gut feeling. It had to be done like that. We had zero proof. Well, a lot of insights, but no certainties that could work or not. And we had the freedom to do that because we had an amazing university funding us, amazing research funding body, enabling us to explore the impossible, the untapped. Even if sometimes you fail, and this is inefficient, but even if only once you succeed, and we succeeded more than once with these crazy journeys, then it was worth it. So I do not, until I will have amazing project officers and research funding and organization allowing me to do this, I will probably still break the edge of the research and then make my code open, that then if other people want to commercialize it and take it out there, can do so. So I think we need that. We need more people, but actually it is happening. There are a lot of people now, and there are some argumentation and deliberation technologies that went private. They started as a research enterprise and went private, and they are making millions. So, it happens, some people do it, but I just prefer doing the research bit and be a bit crazy, like, we are in KMI. And
Thanks, Anna. We have another question here, and then we'll come online.
Hi, Anna. Fabulous talk. I expected that. And of course, it's you're tackling, not one, but a number of huge problems. I mean, really, really big problems, big as they get. And I'd like to focus on democracy as one of the big ones. I'm maybe sad enough to have watched the American election that happened. So I was thinking about the American election while thinking about what you were saying, and then thinking about what's this somehow the scope of your work in relation to bad actors and misinformation. So there may be actors in democratic settings that deliberately would like to stoke division because it's part of their election strategy. I don't know how you feel about that in relation to the scope of your work. So do you maybe assume, well, everybody has to be a good actor in a sense, or this is for the public, but I don't know how you feel about bad actors who deliberately...
It is a spot-on question. We have thought about that, both dimensions, very, very carefully. So for what concerns misinformation, we made a choice as a team. And we decided that even in the exploration of technology support and AI, we would not go into the sorts of misinformation avenue, like flagging, the quality of evidence or facts versus speculation, which is a completely worthy endeavor. But we decided that for us, the best remedy for misinformation and propaganda is helping people with technologies to exert their critical thinking, because there will be always a bad actor, always someone able to create or misguise the false information or manipulate it in a way that it's leading to persuade you to something. But if you are skilled as a citizen at any age, even in school, I think, to really exert critical thinking, having, though, also technology that help you in the overall complexity of information overload, that help you to exert this critical thinking, that help you in the assessment of the evidence, of the arguments. There is so much that can be done. So we decided that our remedy for misinformation and propaganda would be designing technologies for critical thinking. And that was a choice. So with our tool, you actually don't know what's the right evidence, but you have a scientific recommender that when you click on a post, go fetch the argument from the scientific literature, and then you can pick some of these arguments and attach them as evidence to your post in one click. So I am making you easier to practice evidence-based thinking and reasoning in a public arena. So this is the avenue for that. The other point, also very crucial, that is a big one. So that's not something my team can do. So what we decided to do was to join our forces with some of the best researchers in, security and decentralized system in the world. So I believe that the only way to really be able to know that what you are saying, doing is not going to end up in the hands of a troll or of a misguided, player, is going to be through decentralized all of my technologies. And actually, that's the reason why I haven't made some of those open yet, because I'm not going to make them open until they are decentralized, because I know they could be taken by bad actors. So I am thinking about that big time. But it is very complex, because the security field in computing, it's another dimension. I have no expertise in that, and we need to join effort, because deliberation technology will need to provide what Brian Ford calls accountable reputation. So you need to be able to trace and profile an actor, but in a completely private way. So you are accountable what you say, but I can assess what you are doing on my platform. And there are security experts working on this, and their work is fundamental, because we will never be able to use these technologies in a safe way if we don't work together on this challenge.
Thanks, Anna. There was a question online. I'll take that now.
Anna, I think you've already answered a couple of the questions that came in about would this give a deeper appreciation of democratic institutions, and now you've just answered one about malicious actors. There's one that came in by email that I'll flag up from Dominic Newbold, who worked at the Open University. He's now teaching first-year students at a university in Hanoi. And he finds they're wedded to their smartphones, their attention span is weakened considerably, and their assignments, most of their assignments are written by ChatGPT. The question is, their addiction to smartphone usage even disrupts their sleeping patterns. What is the answer to this crisis?
A simple one.
Well, a very simple one. My son is not having a phone until he's 16. So that's the easy answer. No, I mean, I think there were two points to this question, both very, very valid and important. So the first one was about attention, and in a way, helping them not to be addicted to technology. And I think on that one, unfortunately, sociology and psychologists need to help us understand what is happening in our society with this addiction to which we are not kind of excluded. So I wouldn't know how to respond to that. But on the other question, that was more on the use of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, I mean, it's just, I don't know how, well, I think everybody knows now, but I don't have to enter into details. But this type of AI systems, by the way, on which what you have seen are based, so all the recommender that I showed are of a similar type, even though we didn't use ChatGPT, will be inevitably in our future. So we cannot, and I'm sorry, I mean, this is coming out, and probably this is why a lot of political scientists hate me, because I look too much as a positivist in terms of technologies. Sorry, guilty as charged. So it is a tool. All tools have been used for the good and for the bad. And that's why I'm kind of thinking and highlighting all the time, it's our responsibility to decide how much we use this. Now, for students, it's going to be the educational institution to decide how they enable a new form of education that solve the problem. And now students use ChatGPT with everything. I mean, we can't stop evolution. We can't tell students don't use it. But probably we should find different way to assess their capability to think critically, or to make their own mind, or to really understand content in a deeper way. Our way of learning, it's going to change with all these technologies, assistive technologies. We will have to reinvent how we educate our children and the future of our generation. And actually, I think at the OU, we have some various teams, profs working exactly on the future of education. So I think we will learn to find new way. That's my answer. I don't know if it's good enough, but we will have to find new way to teach thoroughly, to assess properly, also using ChatGPT, and also assuming that students will use it. As I remember, I was using a calculator. Like, my dad could not use calculators when he was doing civil engineering. I could. And I remember there were old-style professors saying, like, you need to build this bridge. Don't use your calculator. And I'm like, I'm not going to not have a calculator when I design a bridge, am I? So it's a little bit of a similar thing. So we will have to evolve, I think.
Thanks, Anna. So we are at our allotted time. Is there time for one more question? Yes. Oh, you already have the microphone. Go ahead, Harry.
Thank you for the lecture. Thank you for being a fantastic colleague and person for all those years. And I look forward to your next 20 years. So one of the things that I always come across when it comes to arguing for doing decision-making more collectively and in a deliberative way is that it takes time and takes a lot of effort, and people could be confrontational, and so it's easier to just make a decision and get on with it. So I think for me, there's a cultural issue that we also need to address. And I wonder whether you have a tool for that, or you can develop one.
Not yet, boss. Give me 20 years. No, I'm kidding.
I need it now.
No, I think, of course, there's not a tool for that. There is not a tool for every world, like problem. But I have to say that the issue of time is very relevant. And this is part of the next 20 years of the flock of birds. So jokes apart, very, very recent innovation on dynamic decision making and some advancement on human swarm intelligence that comes from the capability to use some technological advancement to enable people to provide close feedback loop to each other at a large scale in a very dynamic way in the moment, are opening new avenues to these problems of the timeliness of decision. So it is not impossible to think about a future in which our technologies will be able to inform in a thorough way our decision in a timely manner, which means in 5 minutes, 3, 1. And we will have to revert to old style decision making of 4 people in a room making the most important decision for the human existence. So I think timeliness is incredibly important, and making timely action is important, and it's the problem that needs to be cracked. Otherwise, nobody will want to use thorough deliberation if we don't make it faster. So I think you are just picked on the next 20 years.
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, so that is the end of our time, I'm afraid. For those of you here in person, I'm sure there'll be opportunities afterwards to talk to Anna, maybe ask the questions that you have. For those of you online, there will be any questions that we haven't been able to get to, we will take a look at and get back to you on. So let me thank everyone here on behalf of the Open University. Thank you very much for being here, particularly Anna's family. It's great to have you here on this very important occasion. And most importantly, Anna, thank you so much for a wonderful talk and a great question and answer session as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Arosha.
Thank you. I have a few more things, just a bit of closing things to say. So we really enjoy having everyone here, but we also want to continuously try and make these lectures and the experience of them better. So there is a feedback form and a link that will be shared. So we'd be really appreciative if you could complete that and give us some feedback about the event. We are planning the lectures for the year ahead. So do keep an eye out for the details of those talks on our OU Research website. And then finally, for those of you here in the room today, please join us downstairs to celebrate Anna de Liddo's inaugural lecture.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Amazing.